And welcome to your 7 a.m. gentle class. All right, so we're going to start in a seated position. So wherever you feel comfortable, it might be crossed legs or legs out in front of you, whatever's feeling good right now. I'm actually sitting on a block right here because that's easier on my hips some mornings. But once you find your easy seat, take a minute to let your shoulders drop away from your ears. And we're just going to take a really nice, gentle neck stretch. So reach your right fingertips down towards the mat. And as you're reaching your right fingertips down, drop your left ear to your left shoulder. And you can even place a hand on your opposite ear to draw that head even deeper. And then release it back to center. Switch sides, reach your opposite fingertips down to the mat. And drop your right ear to your right shoulder. Option to bring the opposite hand to the other ear. And let each breath that you take kind of melt some of that tension away. And release the head back to center. You could take a few shoulder rolls if you want to. Rolling shoulders back, forward, whichever way feels good. And then we'll take a gentle seated twist. So you can put your left hand on your right knee and your right hand behind you. Sit up nice and tall. And if this feels like a good first twist of the morning, you can stay here. If you want to change up the intensity a little bit, you can start to look over your right shoulder. And as you inhale, imagine your spine lengthening. Exhale, relax into the twist. One more inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist. And release back to center. Switching sides. Right hand can come to the left knee, left fingertips behind you. Sit up nice and tall. And exhale, relax into the twist. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist. And release back to center. And here we're going to take a few body circles. So bringing your whole torso forward, around, and back. When you're ready, you can switch directions. Starting to warm up the spine in all directions, and then come back to center. And then reach both of your arms up overhead. We're going to move into a seated side stretch. So you can bring your right fingertips down to the mat, and then reach your left arm over. You can stay propped up on your fingertips. You can lower down to your forearm if that feels good. Take one more breath here. Exhale, inhale, drop both arms up to center, over to the other side. And I find that my shoulder likes to roll forward in this. Yeah, you can always open up the chest. One more breath, inhale, exhale, and then inhale, arms up to center again, and release them down. So, oh, here comes my little buddy. And I'm going to move my block here because we're going to move into a tabletop position. So you can kind of roll forward on your mat and bring your shoulders over your wrists and your hips over your knees. You could take a few organic movements here if you want to hinge back and forth, sneak side to side a little, loosening things up, and then we'll move through some cat-cows. So as you inhale, drop your belly, lift your tailbone, look up, and draw your shoulders down and back. And as you exhale, round the spine in the opposite direction, dropping your head, releasing your neck, letting it relax. And then move through with your own breath as you inhale to cow, dropping the belly, exhale to cat. Yes, you're the cat. Just further waking up the spine, connecting your breath to your movement. And we'll go through one more cycle with your breath, inhaling to cow, exhaling to cat, and come back to a neutral tabletop. From here, we're going to do thread the needle. So for thread the needle, you will shift your weight into your left palm, into the mat, and reach your right arm up, opening to the side, and then bring that arm under your armpit. You can stay here, you can drop that shoulder down to the mat. If you want to, you can extend that front hand to the top of your mat. And just as you did when you were seated, inhale and allow the exhale to bring you further into that twist. And you can adjust this pose to make it work for you. If you want it to be a spine twist, it can be. If you want it to really open up the back of the shoulders, you can make it more of a shoulder stretch. But you can find your sweet spot. One more breath here. Inhale and exhale. And then if you've extended that front hand, you can draw it back towards you. Lift up your right hand to the sky and release it back down to the mat. And switch sides. Inhale your left arm up. Exhale, thread it through under your armpit. Option to drop that shoulder to the mat and or to extend that right hand towards the top of the mat. Take one more breath here. Coming into the fullest expression of this pose. And then bring that front hand back in towards you. Inhale that arm high. Exhale, set it down. Coming back to a tabletop. And from here, we'll move into our first downward facing dog. So you want to bring your hands one hand forward on the mat. It's usually enough space for me. And then tuck your back toes, lift your knees, lift your hips, and come into your first downward facing dog. And take some time to pedal out your feet, straightening one leg and then the other. Especially if your hamstrings are tight. And then as they start to get a little bit warmed up, you can still reach the heels down towards the mat. Bend your knees if you need to, so that you can press your hips back and create one long line from your wrists to your shoulders to your hips. Pressing your heart towards your thighs. And from downward facing dog, look forward to the spot on your mat between your hands, and you can step or walk your feet between your hands, coming to a forward fold. And you can have your feet hip width apart, or you can have them toes touching with a little space between your heels. And you can bend your knees as much as you need to let the top half of your body fold over, relaxed. And you can shake your head no, you can shake your head yes. Just releasing tension in the neck. And from your forward fold, start to roll up slowly, one vertebra at a time, keeping your head relaxed, your neck relaxed, letting your shoulders stack. And when your head finally comes up, let it float to the top. Almost like there's an invisible string connecting the crown of your head, drawing you upwards. And from here, inhale your arms up overhead for extended mountain, bringing your arms up by your ears. And exhale, you can bring your hands through heart center to fold forward again. From here, inhale, halfway lift. So bring your hands to the shins or the thighs. Squeeze your shoulder blades back and together. And suck your belly button into your spine. Making the shape of a number 7 with your body. And exhale, forward fold again. Inhale, sweep your arms up overhead into extended mountain. And exhale, forward fold, hands through heart center. From here, in your forward fold, plant your hands on the mat, fingers spread wide. And step your feet back to the back of your mat. We're coming into a high plank. And in your high plank, take a moment to hinge forward, hinge back, pressing through the heels, warming up the shoulders. And from your high plank, squeeze your elbows into your rib cage and slowly lower down all the way to the mat. And we'll come into a Sphinx pose. So press weight into your hands to come into a back bend. And you can bring your forearms to the mat. And you can adjust the intensity of your back bend by moving your elbows farther away from you or closer to you. And let your legs relax and open up a little bit to release the low back. And as you inhale, pull your heart forward. That will also release your low back. If this feels good, you can stay here. If you'd like to, you can release all the way down to the mat for a moment. Lift your chest one more time for Sphinx. And then when you're ready, bring your hands under your shoulders. Tuck your back toes. And press yourself back into a tabletop position. And from tabletop, we'll move into downward facing dog again. And we'll start to move a little bit faster. From downward dog, gaze forward to the spot between your hands. Step or walk your feet between your hands and come to a forward fold. Inhale and exhale. Inhale up to a halfway lift. Squeezing the shoulder blades together. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep your arms up overhead. And exhale, forward fold. Plant your hands on the mat. Step your feet back to a plank, high plank to a low plank. And if you'd like to, you can go ahead and take your first chaturanga, coming into a high cobra or an upward facing dog. And then tuck the toes, press back to a down facing dog. And from your down dog, take a moment to breathe into it. Gaze forward. Step your feet between your hands. Forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, bring your arms all the way up overhead for extended mountain. And exhale, forward fold. We'll flow through one more time. Plant your hands on the mat. Step back to a high plank. High plank to a low plank, squeezing your elbows into your rib cage. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. From your down dog, inhale your left leg up behind you, flexing your foot, sending energy back through that foot, almost like you're kicking the back wall. Inhale, and as you exhale, bring that right foot through between your hands for a low lunge. And take a minute to surf out your low lunge here. And from your low lunge, we're going to rise up into a warrior two. So you want to plant your back foot on the mat. You'll kind of turn it sideways. Then rise on up to your warrior two. Making sure that your front foot is tracking right over your front big toe. And your gaze, your drishti can come over your front middle finger. As you come into this first warrior two, let your hips sink a little bit lower. Let yourself come a little deeper into the lunge. At the same time, make sure that you're giving equal attention to your back foot and pressing into the knife edge of that foot so that your weight is evenly balanced. And from here, as you inhale, reach forward and tip over into extended side angle. You can take a modified side angle with your forearm resting on your thigh. Or if you'd like to, you can drop those fingertips down towards the mat on the outside of your leg. or you can use a block or whatever you've got around. And draw that shoulder and that palm back to open through the chest. As you breathe here, feel your rib cage expand with each breath as you make room for it. Take one more inhale and exhale. And on your next inhale, let that top arm draw you up and over into a reverse warrior. And see if you can stay low in the lunge in your front leg, keeping the knee bent. One more inhale and exhale. Cartwheel your hands down to the mat, framing your front foot. Send the front foot back to meet the back foot and move through your chaturanga. Move from your high plank to low plank. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. This time, inhale your left leg up behind you, flexing the foot, sending that energy towards the back of the room. And exhale, bring it through for a little lunge. Surf out your little lunge a little bit. And when you're ready, plant that back foot on the mat. Rise on up to warrior two. And then sink into your hips. From here, inhale, reach forward. Exhale, tip over into your extended side angle. This is one of the poses that I really notice my two sides feel much, much different. And so I have to maybe not expect the exact same thing from this side as I do from the other. It feels different when I open my chest and my shoulder. It feels different in my front leg, and that is okay. Take one more breath. Exhale. On your next inhale, let the top arm pull you up all the way over to reverse warrior. And sink into that front leg a little. One more breath. And exhale, cartwheel the hands down to the mat, chaturanga. Step your front foot back to meet the back, high plank to low plank. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. And we'll move through the flow a little bit quicker. I don't do one breath, one movement, but we'll start building a little bit of energy. Inhale your right leg up behind you. Exhale, lunge it through. Inhale up to warrior two. Reach forward. Exhale, tip over to extended side angle. Inhale, reverse. And exhale, cartwheel down. Chaturanga. Front foot back, high plank to low plank. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. This time, left leg lifts behind you. Exhale, lunge it through. Rise up to warrior two. Reach forward. Exhale, extended side angle. Inhale, reverse. And exhale, cartwheel the hands down for your chaturanga. And as you inhale, upward dog. Exhale, downward dog. You can come into a child's pose for a moment. So for child's pose, bring your knees wide to the edge of your mat, big toes touching. Send your hips back to your heels. And you can reach your hands forward towards the top of your mat. You can even allow your forehead to rest on the mat if that feels good for you. This is a good place for you to reconnect with your breath. And when you're ready, we'll move back into a downward facing dog. And inhale your right leg up behind you. Exhale, lunge it through. Come up to a warrior two. From warrior two, we're going to move into a triangle pose. And you might need to adjust your footing a little bit. For me, I like to bring my feet a little closer together. And as you move into triangle, straighten your front leg. Kick out your back hip. So in this case, your left hip. Kick it out to the back of the wall so that you can really reach forward and then tip over. This is also a good place to use blocks or whatever you've got, pillows, canned food. I like to connect my fingertips to the earth in some way and find some stability. But continue to breathe into that open space in your rib cage that you're creating. If it feels crunched up in your right side, you can lift up a little bit so that you can enjoy those big full breaths. On your next inhale, rise up, sink back into a lunge in your front knee, and then exhale, cartwheel the hands down to the mat. Move through your chaturanga, high plank to low plank. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale your left leg up. Exhale, lunge it through. Rise on up to warrior two. And from warrior two on the other side, straighten that front leg. Kick out your right hip to the back wall. Reach forward. And come into your triangle pose. And your gaze can be wherever it feels best for your neck. So that might be looking down at your front toes, might be looking up at your right hand, or it might be gazing straight in front of you. Continue to breathe and to make space for your breath. On your inhale, rise up to reverse your warrior, bend the front knee, and exhale, cartwheel the hands back down to the mat. Chaturanga, high plank, low plank. Inhale up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. And if you want to, you can come into a child's pose for a moment. Reset. How you doing right now? Doing okay? So, more legs or less legs?
It's my feet and my wrist mostly that hurt.
Gotcha. Let's stay on the floor then, you know. I think we did a lot of flow through standing poses. So I'm ready to wind it down. There we go. All right, so from child's pose, press yourself up to seated. And I don't know if this would feel good for you. Sometimes it feels really good for me. Sometimes it just makes things worse. But I like to do a little toe stretch where I tuck my toes underneath and kind of sit back on my heels. And if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. But sometimes, like especially in the summer, I wear a lot of flip-flops. I go barefoot a lot. So this kind of...
Yeah, it feels good.
Oh, cool. It's one of those hit or miss. Like sometimes it's great, sometimes it is the opposite of great. And whenever you've had enough of that, We're just gonna come into seated and bring your legs out in front of you, straight for staff pose. Sometimes you gotta move the squishy bits out of the way. And inhale your arms up overhead, sit up nice and tall, and hinging from your hips with a flat back, start to reach your hands towards your feet. And then wherever you're at, as soon as your back starts to curve into that C curve, release your hands down to the legs. And if it feels good, then you can fully collapse over your legs. And slowly rise up again. And we'll move into a pretzel. So we'll get a little bit more twisting, a little bit more leg. You can leave your bottom leg straight or option to pull it in. But you can cross your right leg over your left, give your knee a good hug, sit up nice and tall. And some days this is where I'm at. Like today, this is probably where I'm at because I feel it a lot through the backside. But you do have the option to pull that bottom leg in. Another option with the leg in or out is to start twisting to look over your right shoulder. And this is also a good pose to play around with if you want to see how small changes can make big differences in sensations, or if you start out one way and you don't feel any stretch at all. This is fun to play with. And start to come back to center. If your left leg is folded in, unfold it. And then what you're gonna do is bring your right knee down, but then you're gonna set that foot back behind you. And then bend the left knee so that you're in deer pose. So both of your knees are bent, kind of spiraled. And then place your left hand behind you. And if this is a bit hard on your wrist, this is also, you don't have to put a lot of weight into it. You can also use like block or pillow, something under there that makes it easier on my wrist. But we are going to kind of use that to stabilize yourself as you reach your right hand up and lift your hips. And you're kind of pressing forward into that hip flexor. And again, you might not necessarily feel it there. You might feel it in your back leg. You might feel it in your quads. And release back down. Also option, if you want more of the quad stretch, would be to lean back. And I've got a couch here, so I won't be going very far. But you can kind of play with it. Yeah, see if there's any sensations that feel good, where you reach a sweet spot with your body. And then moving slowly to come out of it. Rise back up. And we'll switch sides. So this time, left leg comes out straight. No, right leg.
I think
Whichever
I did it.
leg.
So it is my left leg that's coming out.
Okay, that works. Whichever one you haven't done yet. And then give your knee a good hug. Sit up nice and tall. Decide if you want to wrap that straight leg in, or if you want to go for the little twist. Out of curiosity, how are you feeling about pigeon today?
Oh, I love pigeon.
Yeah, okay, let's do it. I think one of my fatal flaws as a right-handed person is the left side never gets as much time as the right side.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ever feel like I'm staying in left side too long, be like, hey, you know what, Danielle, we're done with this. Let's move. I will be totally okay with that. But you take your time whenever you're ready. You can release that bent leg, swing it behind you, and then bend the front leg, take your deer pose. And then when you're ready, lift the arm, lift the hips.
No, not going to happen on this side. That wrist is too bad.
Oh, yeah. You know what I ended up doing in a lot of stuff like side plank where there's so much weight on the wrist is I started like making a fist on the ground.
Yeah.
And that's better, but it'll still get to me after a while. So I hear ya. Too much weight. Mm-mm. And this is nice because I think, because you do have the option to lean back, that you can still kind of find that a little bit of extension there in the front of the leg. I don't dislike having the couch here. I'm actually it's very relaxed. It's very restorative. In the next few years, I think there's going to be a new style of yoga called couch yoga.
Oh, yeah, I can totally see that.
And when you're ready, come on back up. Oh, if you need to, shake out the legs a little bit. And we'll definitely go into pigeon. We've got time for it. So my favorite way, you can do it however you want. You can do it from down dog. I like just going from tabletop. I'll bring my right knee to right wrist and right ankle up towards my left wrist. And scooch the back leg back. If you want to take a glance behind you to make sure your leg and your foot's out straight. And you can stay tall for a moment if you want. Option to bend that back leg and take hold of the foot, or you can go straight into your sleeping pigeon. So when you're ready for your sleeping pigeon, you can come down, you can bring the hands farther away from you, come all the way down to your forearms, or if you like, you can completely collapse forward. Start to bring your hands under your shoulders, pressing yourself back up. And send your front foot back. Shake it out a little bit. Make sure you still got blood flow to your toes. And when you're ready, bring your left knee to your left wrist, left ankle up towards your right wrist. Send the back leg back. Make sure it's straight. Option to bend the back knee or go straight into sleeping pigeon, folding over your front leg. And moving slowly, gently. Bring your hands under your shoulders. Send your front leg back. Shake it out a little bit. And then make your way onto your back, setting up for your final Shavasana. Take any last minute little movements you want. If you want to bring your knees into your chest and rock a little bit. Or if you're ready to rest, release your legs, your arms down to the mat. Let your limbs start to feel heavy. If you happen to notice any areas of tension, just let them melt away into the ground. Let your breath become easy. Start to deepen your breathing. Feel your belly gently rise and fall with each inhale and exhale. You can start to bring some movement back to your body through your fingers and your toes. You can start to roll your wrists and your ankles if that feels good. And then slowly roll over onto your right side, drawing your knees up towards your chest and using your arm as a pillow. You can keep your eyes closed or keep your gaze soft as you use your arm to press yourself up to sitting. Just a comfortable, easy seat. How you doing?
Good.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me for 7 a.m. yoga online.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure, and hope you have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you. The light in me sees, honors, and reflects the light in you. Have a
Have a
good
good day.
one.
You too.
Thanks.